Hey, how's
Hey,
it
happy
going?
Friday. How you doing?
Happy Friday.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the platform,
Of
by the way. I just want to take some
course.
time to just address that. Thank you
Of,
for the consideration.
of course. You're doing so many awesome things. You've been
Yeah,
doing so many awesome things, so it's a pleasure to have you.
I appreciate that.
You
How's your day
certainly
going?
can't complain, honestly. Yeah, it's going good. This week, it feels like a Sunday though for me.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like a Friday. But how about you? How's your
Well, it's been a long week actually. I just started one of my projects that I'm working on. It's actually my podcast. So I started my second season. My first
night?
episode was yesterday, so just kind of been wrapping up with like the media stuff, a lot of the marketing things as well. So it's been a pretty long week, but it's been a great one to say the least.
Nice, nice. I love to hear it. Yeah, I've been watching that, and I love to see it.
Yeah, for sure,
But
absolutely. I'll definitely shoot you over the links
oh
and.
no, like I love to see you doing it. I've been watching it. I've been
Okay,
watching
yeah,
it.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. I'm actually trying to like put together like a little like intimate live event at like a space we actually had, an opportunity to have a space downtown Toronto now where like every 3 weeks we can kind of pop in and kind of it's like a concept store, so we can kind of
Nice.
do collaborative events there and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited to have maybe like a little intimate crowd for the live audience and the podcast to come.
Nice. Well, that
Yeah,
sounds really dope.
yeah, for sure.
I'm here for it. Well, I asked a question to um, the three people currently on live right now.
Okay.
Hi, welcome everyone. But I asked a question right before you hopped on, and it was from this fishbowl that I have.
Oh, okay, nice.
And I basically have questions, affirmations, just like some fun stuff, just to get us like all warmed up before we dive
Absolutely,
into this. But
absolutely.
I picked one out, so I think might as well repeat it.
Yeah.
I feel most proud of myself when I blank.
I feel my most proud of myself when I don't quit on my goals.
Nice.
So I think I'm very adamant, and I'm really like the guy that's gonna push, for a goal, and I don't want to fail myself or quit,
Mm-hmm.
in the wake of adversity or hardships for that matter. So I just try to, just keep pounding the pavement. Like that's what usually say. Like just keep pounding the pavement.
Mm-hmm. Is
Until you
that
finish the
something
job.
you've always been able to do, or is that something you've had to like adapt over time?
Um, to be honest, I think through my personal life experiences, before anything, great ever happened, a lot of like negative things happen. So whenever things are getting like tough, on the other side of that is going to be whatever it is that you're searching for.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of my goals or personal projects that I'm working on, whenever it's getting tough and a lot of adversity and hardships hitting, I know that on the opposite side of that is, the success and,
Yeah.
things of that matter. So I feel like my life experiences really influenced me to kind of have that mentality and that kind of mindset.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. What
That's
about yourself?
hmm. I feel most proud of myself when I. It's a hard one.
Right.
I would say, I guess like similar, like when I go through a project through and through, like without recently what I've been doing is without feeling anxiety or letting my anxiety like take over and deter me from my projects or
Yeah.
even second guessing myself like that happens during the creative process. I know you may
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah connect with that. So I think that like when I finish a project through and through, I guess you could say when I don't quit, I feel most proud of myself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you've been doing an amazing job. Just even taking
Thanks.
the time to put something like this together during COVID. This is like amazing. So you got to definitely give yourself a lot of credit because it's not easy. It's not easy to do a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't really see. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's a misconception about a lot of creative artists is like people think that when you're not creating, like you're not doing anything. you know, which is a big misconception. So I usually used to always tell people, like, you know, one of the best ideas, or some of the best ideas, come when you're like in stillness, you know, when you're not in the creative process, when you can just be watching a show on Netflix on your couch.
That
You
part.
know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I definitely feel you on that.
Well, thank you for your answer. I just want to let everybody know, like, who is watching right now.
Hmm.
I welcome the discussion from outside of just me and Hussein. So if you guys would love to share your answer, we would love to hear it. Join in. Feel free to comment as long as it's positive. Keep it positive and keep it appropriate. But
Sure.
I'm watching, so I'd love to read what you guys have to say.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be dope.
Yeah, okay, so I'm
Well,
gonna pick one more.
yeah.
Well, probably two more, because you know what? I wrote some fun stuff today. Okay. This is one of my favorite questions, so I'm probably never gonna take it out of this bowl. If you could shop free at one store, where would it be?
Um, that's a very, very good question. But I guess I'll say Apple.
Oh my god, yes, our last speaker said the exact same thing. Shut up,
Yeah,
Nancy.
I
Yeah.
definitely, and that's what I'm saying. That's one of, I don't know, business wise, I would love to have like some form of a partnership or something, or to be able to like have Apple as one of a client or something like that. But just, yeah, Apple, I think, obviously, as the years continue to move forward, we see the transformative impact of technology, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like for our millennials, we're going into like a tech type of like world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
definitely would be Apple, just the functionalities of their products and the way they kind of like just, you know, kind of produce to the masses, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
sure, I love my Apple products too, because, you know, they're kind of convenient and everything is like compatible. The AirDrop feature is like one of the greatest inventions ever. So
It
yeah,
is. It is.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
It's
What about yourself?
fascinating, honestly. Damn. Okay, this is gonna sound like kind of stupid, but it would have to be like a vegan grocery store because
Oh,
it's
that's nice too.
so expensive and like sometimes you gotta pick and choose what you can get. But if I could, I would just like literally just take everything off the shelves and just stock up.
Damn, that's what's up. Are you actually vegan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. How long?
3 years.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like,
Thanks.
I really always commend people for like sticking to stuff like that, because it's hard and it's easy to get influence in this world that we're living in. So
Hmm.
that's what's up. That's really good. How do you feel? I guess when you go out, is it easy to find food? Especially, I think.
Um, when I'm in Toronto, like when I'm in the city, it's so easy. Well,
Oh,
like I don't want to say so easy, but it's easier. But I'm in the suburbs, right?
oh,
So
okay,
Uber
okay.
Eats and like stuff like that is not
Yeah,
a thing.
yeah,
But you know, that means I cook more, so I'm saving
yeah. Absolutely,
money.
gives you an opportunity. You just got to see the positive and the negative, like they always say,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Okay,
So
I'm
what is?
gonna jump. Sorry, go ahead. What
Sorry,
were
I
you
was gonna
gonna say?
say, what's your favorite vegan dish?
That's a good question. Hmm. Oh wow. Oh, okay, I know. Veggie Delight. Have you ever been there? It's in Kensington. It's vegan Caribbean food. It's literally the best food I've ever had in my entire life. Like,
Wow, I actually,
uh,
it's so crazy you say that, because I actually went to a vegan inspired like ITEL spot like a
nice,
couple days ago in Leslieville. So like,
nice.
yeah, Leslieville
You're gonna
area.
have to give me the name of that restaurant.
Yeah, actually,
I'm
give
gonna
me a
check it.
second. I might think I have the flyer or the menu.
Oh,
Just give,
lit.
yeah,
Okay,
give me 2 seconds. Let me
perfect.
see if I
Yeah,
can grab it. Oh, yeah, you got really lucky. So
perfect.
yeah, right here.
Oh,
It's called
awesome.
Yeah, it's called Allwood Market Cafe, and they got
Yay.
like um fresh pressed juices.
What? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
going there.
they
Oh,
got
that's so exciting.
yeah, and they got like vegan brunch. So they got like a vegan scramble, the Aki brunch. Then they got something that's called the jerk lentils, roastable, vegan
What?
saltfish.
That's what? That's so
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. So yeah,
Oh
definitely I'll
wow,
shoot you
yeah,
the
who gets
information.
me
Check
like
it out.
this? Oh yeah, for sure. I'm definitely checking that out. That is on my to-do list for
Yeah,
next
for
week.
sure.
Okay, awesome. You know what I found out? Live actually has like a time constraint.
Yeah, it's
So
like an
I,
hour, right?
yeah, so I'm gonna dive like right into it. I want to milk and get as many gems as possible for everybody watching, including myself, because I know I'm gonna learn a lot from you. So
Yeah, likewise, likewise, me as well.
yeah, for sure. So I've like watched you. I've had the opportunity to watch you grow. We met kind of like in similar situation, both wanting to start a business. And you kind of like flourished in 365 days. Like it's literally been a year.
Yeah,
Um,
it's crazy.
yeah, right. It's crazy
Yeah.
for real. So I'm really excited to like dive deep into what you do, how you got there. And I kind of want to like start there. So for people who may not know who you are, I would love to talk about just your background, who you are, and what you do.
Okay, so obviously, I just start by always saying I'm a black male. I go by the name of Hussein. African descent of Ghana. Canadian families, first generation immigrants as well. So I am actually from the east part of Toronto, Scarborough to be exact, and I'm actually the founder of a sports marketing agency called TGQ Inc. And that's a culmination of my personal brand, which is represented with different entities. So we do have a partnership with various industry leading brands. We've done interesting work with Puma, Nike, did a couple of things with RCA, which is a Toronto prep school, as well
Mm-hmm.
as Revive Toronto, which is a health and sports rehab clinic. So my role is I'm anything from you could say creative artist, but I look at myself as a marketer. I kind of tackle a 365-day approach of different marketing strategies. Working on partnership and sponsorship deliverables for various entities. Just kind of utilizing on my relationship equity to kind of add value to different brands and businesses and corporate partners as well. So that's a little bit of what I do.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Because I know that there's actually, I'll get into it. I don't want to get into it right now. Just touching surface. But
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about your background prior to getting into marketing? Just
Uh,
leading up to marketing, what were you doing?
Absolutely. Well, I was actually in university prior to starting a business. I actually was an athlete as well. So I had a really good like career there, I should say. Relatively still young, but yeah. So I was an athlete. I played basketball. I went to university. I actually had an opportunity to attend a university in New York City. I think that was one of the greatest life experiences for me because I was able to identify with an environment that opened my creativity. I think New York City is a culmination of culture, music, unity, and things of that matter and nature. So I was able to kind of go there with the opportunity to do school and play basketball. But when I wasn't doing that, I was at art galleries or I was taking walks at Bryant Park and I was just meeting various creative artists that were doing really unique stuff. And that kind of sparked my interest for like art and marketing and things of that matter. So, I had that opportunity and then I came back home. I attended Ryerson University. I went there, studied social sciences and sociology. I graduated there and then I started to kind of think about the opportunity of developing into business. Pertaining to marketing in the sports world, I think I had a really authentic connection with, people in the sports market just because I knew them from obviously playing, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
when I really started, I just really wanted to kind of come up with the idea of, providing a service and also adding value. I think oftentimes in business, especially when you're starting, a lot of people think that success comes right away and you're going to get, all these sales. But I always say a lot of people just invest in who you are
Mm-hmm.
and your business second. So if you lead with, you know, a genuine intent, and, you know, if you're like, you have good energy, you know, you already know the universe is going to kind of pay you in tenfold. So, you know, when I got into business at first, I had an opportunity to definitely work with some really dope artists and, you know, people and clients. And I think that just stemmed from my relationship and me just, you know, never pushing for it, but just having an organic relationship, and then things just started to flow naturally.
Mm-hmm. Touching on that, what do you think about? Okay, so I don't know which question to ask first, but you have a brand outside of your business. Can you talk about how important that is? And then can you also, two-part question, could you also talk about how important it is to have continuity and your morals, your own morals and your own values connecting with your business's morals and values?
Absolutely. So I think having a personal entity is a representation or a culmination of anything that you do from a business standpoint. So I think the one thing that I always try to do with my personal brand is, you know, just make it a representation of my passions and my desires. So at that time, it was athletics, business, and travel. Those are the things that I think I identified with. I like to travel to different environments. I love athletic sports. And then, yeah, I had a passion for, you know, obviously competing at a high level in my respective sport. So
Mm-hmm.
that was, you know, for me, the big opportunity using social media and social platforms to kind of just put out that theme. So then when I started with my business now, it was sports market, and then travel kind of escalated to like media and like content, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
traveling now, you can kind of document these things through like social media and stuff like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, starting to write blogs now that you can kind of do on the go and stuff like that, and just trying to monetize off of different mediums. So I think keeping those narratives based on what you do and your passions really do kind of spark, you know, opportunity for you to align those things in your business entities going forward. And then for your second part of the question, I really truly believe, especially during these times of, you know, the world and how visible minorities are oppressed, I think it's really important that we kind of stand firm on, you know, who we are as people before we step into the workforce and the industries, especially in, you know, business. And it's so unfortunately saddening to say, but people like us don't really get our credit that we deserve, you know, and especially working in these fields where majority of these owners, in my market, it's regulated by, you know, Jewish and Italian men. So, you know, a guy like me coming into the industry and looking at these Fortune 500 sports agencies, you know, they don't really expect a guy like me to win, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I always keep that in the back of my mind to say, hey, you're going to have to definitely put in twice as much of the work that you might not get credit for, but that's not why you're in business. You know, you're in business for a bigger purpose. I always tell myself, if you're doing something for the acknowledgement, then you're in the wrong game, or in the wrong field. You know, I feel like I got into business because I had a purpose to serve, and I felt like I was trying to rewrite history for the people that come from similar communities as myself. So I think it's really important to kind of stand like on your integrity, you know, and never to lose your personal values. You know what I mean? And then I
Mm-hmm.
think everything else kind of leads from there.
Well, you're a true testament as to that working in very positive ways. It always works in positive ways, but
Yeah,
you're a true example of that because even on your personal page, on your business page, in real life in general, there's consistency on your brand because that's truly who you are. So commend
appreciate
that
that.
for sure.
Yeah, I truly
Um,
appreciate that.
touching on challenges, you being, like you said, you being a black man in an industry that is dominated by people who don't look like you. Outside of that and within that, what are some more challenges that you faced and how do you maneuver around those obstacles?
Well, I think like everybody, I think a lot of us have personal challenges that we kind of go against. I think particularly to me, it was during COVID, being able to operate business when I couldn't really get in rooms and get my ideas across. Where, I had a partnership with a major corporation with hundreds of thousands of dollars budgeting wise that had to kind of get cut, and I had a lot of planned events that had to kind of take a halt. So I think that was a really big challenge for me because I felt like I had a lot of momentum going into that, and the fact that that was really stripped. Personally, it kind of took a lot out of me, because I was, I had a lot of momentum, and I felt like things kind of took a halt, right? So the one thing that made me kind of overcome that situation is, it kind of just set me up for how things might go in the future. You know, um, you just gotta adapt. I think adaptability is, a word that I've been kind of identifying with over the last couple months, and it's just like whatever life is gonna throw at you, you just gotta adapt. COVID, you gotta adapt with the times. You gotta go into the store and wear a mask. You gotta really, be comfortable now being on Zoom calls. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? You got to be comfortable with these social distances protocols. That's
Mm-hmm.
just, what it is. You know what I mean? And from a business standpoint now, how can you now set up contingency plans that will allow you to push your business through any pandemic going forward? So, an opportunity that I got to do is switch a lot of my infrastructure of my business to a digitized space now. So now, physically, I can operate business from the likeness of my screen or my telephone for that matter, as long as they're like a Wi-Fi or internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I looked at that opportunity to grow my business,
Yeah.
and that helped me push through the personal hardship that I was facing.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it
That
was
takes
hard.
a
It was
lot.
hard. It was hard, but
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, it was really hard. And personally, I was really down on myself because, like anybody, I just, I was thinking, I was having those thoughts of, man, this might be the end. Like you had so much traction. I the last place I actually traveled before COVID was Chicago. Actually, was at the NBA All Star Weekend, and I had like so many contacts, and we had so many plans, and I had this thing going on with Puma and all this stuff, and then as soon as COVID hit, I was just like, wow, like all this, like all the hard work and networking and going here for, yeah, I looked at it. I'm like, wow, like this for nothing, But then I had to catch myself and say, like, there's a reason why this happened, and you just had to now like adapt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Utilize your opportunity to grow your business, but now just think, think. I'm trying to be a forward thinker. So I think COVID really presented like great takeaways for me in my business.
Nothing's for nothing. So that's awesome that
Absolutely.
you were able to pivot, and I'm happy to see it working out because you are doing great things. The podcast, the aesthetic is so dope.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Visually, it's dope, and
Yeah, I
even
appreciate
the
it.
things that you're talking about are super dope. For anybody who doesn't know and isn't acquainted, I would suggest you go check it out.
For sure. We
Called
appreciate the
Culture
love.
Conversations. Yeah,
Yeah,
really dope.
for
Season two.
sure.
I watched your season two first episode.
Yeah, you definitely gotta come bless the podcast though. You gotta open seat whenever you're available.
I'm here. Yeah, for sure. I would love to. I would absolutely love to. Um, I would love to touch on like something that I've had recently started thinking about, and I think that this question is a little more powerful than it seems because you've been on both sides. Well, I'm going to say the question first so we all know what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
going from an employee to an employer, I'm
Mm.
sure there's so many things that you've been able to still keep in mind subconsciously when you are hiring and when you are building your team? What are some things that you look for now that you're an employer when you are hiring?
To be honest, I'm just gonna be completely honest. It's just the energy to, like, you know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can have all this industry experience, you can have all these degrees, but like if your energy isn't right, then I can't work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for being in a professional setting and in friendship. You know, I think energy is a big thing, and you can kind of like, I look at it as like the gut feeling. You kind of have a gut feeling like, okay, this person is genuine. This person's a good person. Like, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just feel like I have a good intuition. Like when I know, like, okay, this guy's a good dude. This is somebody I need to connect with. This is somebody I need to work with. This is somebody I need to be around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes people can kind of sell, oh, this is what I do. These are the things that I've done, and then it's time to execute. And the same things that they said, is it substantial with their action, right? And I've unfortunately on the two sides of business, you know, you meet these people in business where, you know, they're supposed to provide a service for you, and you know the service isn't as high quality as you expected, and those are just learning curves that you have to kind of go through. I think in my first year of business, I kind of learned that, you know, that just be patient with it, because your brand and your business is a representation of who you are. So the
Mm-hmm.
same way you're going to invest that energy into yourself, that's what you want to do for your business. So don't sell yourself short. Don't, like, you know, cheat yourself and not put the dollar value up. Like, you know what I mean? If you're going to do,
Yeah.
like, let's just say a logo, don't go to, you know, and I'm not saying you can't support your friends, but don't go to your friends if your friend's quality isn't A1, like the guy next door. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I'm all for supporting black businesses, but the black businesses have to be on that same top tier level or even higher than the business next door. Or it's like, you know, support is support, but at the end of the day, it should be a standard of excellence. You know what I mean? Because that's the same way I would expect for, if somebody's coming to me for my services, I'm gonna have my stuff correct. You know what I mean? So I just kind of would like that reciprocation on the other end.
Definitely. I hear that. I agree. Um, Speaking from somebody who is quite ignorant to it all, um, could you talk about the impact marketing has taken on the current social standing, all the cultural significance that's happening right now? Um, could you talk about how important it is to have it in marketing and its impact on you and your business? And
Um,
in sports in general.
yeah, it's an interesting time personally. I think for me, I've been, you know, what we call desensitized to, you know, the magnitudes of these actions from, you know, police brutality. It's unfortunate because I feel like every 2 months it's like a new like story, and it's like, oh, justice for Ahmaud, or justice for Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and then Jacob Blake, and then, you know what I mean. So
Mhm.
it's sad that this has become the norm. But at the same time, I do feel like, you know, people like us can use our ample voice to kind of advocate for, you know, change. And you know, I just feel like I challenge a lot of people innately around me. You know, so if I'm, you know, on my A game, I think everybody else around me will be on my A game. You know, and that's on social media, people in my circle. So I just try to, like I said, you know, lead with my intentions. And I think, you know, my history, I've been very in tune with my family history and who we were, and our black leaders that we looked up to, and all of those great leaders. You know, they love sacrificing for generations to come. And one of my, you know, famous African American leaders, Malcolm X, he was like, him and Muhammad Ali. Those are like my heroes. You know, and one of the things that they've always done, and especially in sports, you know, Muhammad Ali, you know, took a stance on not fighting, you know, because they tried to enlist him to go to the war. And all the other athletes across different respective sports came together and said, hey, we're going to stand by you and support you. You know, and I think from, you know, a cultural standpoint, being that sports are predominantly an African American population, it's very important that, you know, we don't get, you know, confused with who kind of runs the sports industry, because a lot of these owners are white. And I think it's time for the managers and the management and the organizations to come, and walk hand in hand with the players. So, I think from a marketing standpoint, it is, you know, essential to use your platform to, put out a positive message. But I always say, like, there's a difference between political correct and, just being genuine or real, right? And a lot of these corporate businesses are just putting out the corporate, politically correct statements, and you can kind of read it. It's like, a sore thumb, right? It just sticks out.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but I always say, if I can, spark just one person to really be woke about the situation, I feel like I've done my job, because it's one less than yesterday. So I
Well,
just try to do the best that I can, and from my business standpoint, I know how important it is for the people that I represent, and the people that I work with. I'm all for it. I'm actually trying to start more opportunities where I can collaborate with different Black businesses and things like that, and I'm trying to open up ways that I can kind of insinuate and educate these African American or visible minorities, for that matter.
I love to see it. Yeah, I just recently seen on your Instagram your camp that you did,
Yes.
and that was absolutely amazing. I think, especially at a time like this, the youth need to be outside, and you guys creating that safe space where they can just explore that love for basketball, for sports, and
Yep.
then just being able to explore all those avenues, because you guys had so many different um, positions and people who would be in the sports industry in that space. So it was really great to see that. That was amazing. So
Yeah, and the kids loved it. They had an amazing time, and that's what you do it for. I think the kids are the future, and I've been saying this for years to come. And if we don't invest in them, then we're failing ourselves. I feel like the only way the world gets better is if we put that energy back into our youth, the
mm-hmm.
future leaders of our world. So any opportunity, and I think it's my obligation, because growing up, I had some great leaders that kind of sent that elevator back down, and their words of encouragement did everything for me, but their actions too was good. So I felt like when I was older, I was always gonna have that position where it was my obligation to kind of do the same thing. And it's a great experience. It kind of slows everything down and shows you how appreciative and how impactful you can be.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that also plays a role in your ability to just heal while you're seeing all these things, and you're also running a business and you're running a team and you're running all these projects, just to be able to have an outlet where you're able to stay grounded and just
Yeah,
remember like what your purpose is. So that's amazing. I love to see that.
absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, welcome. Can you speak to us about, you said something in your like preliminary questions, and it was about your creative ideation process, and like I really enjoyed your answer, and I also enjoyed the fact that you said creative ideation process, because that was the first time I've ever heard that, and now I'm using it like all the time.
Yeah,
So
no,
could you explain what that is, and like how that plays a role in your business?
yeah, I think the one thing that I love about being creative is you can just draw inspirations from many, many mediums and many forms of art. I don't know. I love watching like films and documentaries. Like that's what I love to do with my when I have time off or whatever. And I think over COVID, I kind of dipped and dabbled back into that habit of just watching films, listening to, documentaries and my favorite soundtracks from those documentaries. And then it kind of just brings back that feeling of nostalgia, and that kind of releases, positive receptors. And then I feel a certain way. And then, you get that like drive inside where like, okay, I want to do this today. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've noticed is pre-COVID, I wasn't really writing as much, and keeping up on my blogs as much. And then I watched the Michael Jordan Last Dance documentary, and I'm like, nah, like I'm in a writing mood now, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to do all this research now, and I want to do all these graphics, and I want to now do all this like marketing research, and I just was inspired right then and there. But it's from the inspiration and the culmination of those films, and I think another thing is just my routine. Like I think my routine allows me to be like very diligent in my creativity process, because I know that when I wake up, I have like 30 to 40 minutes to kind of just have my journal and have my tea and just meditate and get into that zone, and then I know that I get into what I call a flow state where and I'm just kind of going, and I feel like it's like autopilot. You're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of locking in, and I think the one thing about being creative is you don't really it's like an out of body experience. You can't really control it sometimes when you're in the zone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how I feel like when I get deep into it. It's like, oh wow, it's already 8 o'clock, but it doesn't feel like that because you're just so locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of reverted back to sports when you're in that zone where you feel like when you're on the court you can't nobody you can't even see or hear anything. You're just kind of dialed in and focus on your task at hand, which is being the best player you can be on that court.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my creativity or creative ideation process.
That's really dope. Yeah, I think that everybody has those outlets that really help them get out of that stuck funk, like where you don't feel creative, you don't feel inspired, and then there's just that one thing that kind of pivots and allows you to see things from a different perspective and create outside
Yeah.
of that funk. So it's
Yeah.
really
What about yourself? What is I guess your process like? Or you can kind of
hmm.
share some of the things that you do before you get creative in your process.
Meditation is big because I think that what happens with me is like I wasn't aware, being, I'm African myself, so mental health isn't something that's like frequently talked about.
Yeah.
So I have anxiety, and a lot of the time I would let my anxiety kind of just fester, and I wouldn't be able to create. I wouldn't be able to feel inspired. It would kind of just like make me feel very stuck. And
Yeah.
so meditation allows me to kind of quiet my mind and just remember those thoughts that actually are positive, that are conducive to what I want to do. They kind of float up, and then the rest kind of disappear. So I'm able to really clearly um, understand what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to create. And then from there, it really depends the project. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's a documentary, sometimes it's a book. And honestly, sometimes it's just being at the right place at the right time or meeting the
Yeah.
right person. And then from there, it's like a flood of inspiration and motivation. And then, the creation just starts. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we could be prisoners of our own thoughts sometimes, and I feel
yeah.
like when you're creating, you always have that like, oh, it could be better. It's not perfect. It's not the way it should be. But I always like used to like say like sometimes you got to use it as trial and error. You put
Mm-hmm.
something out, you see how it is, how people react to it. You see the engagement, and you say, okay, I could have did this better, and just trial and error. I think that's how I kind of learned a lot of my lessons in business is doing things and failing, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that failure is something that you got to go through. And I think one of the quotes I always used to go by is, success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm.
Yeah,
That was like a big one. I think Winston Churchill said that. Like
that is
failure is
a
the
big one.
Yeah, so you got to
Yeah.
be able to go through failure and failure and failure and still be inspired, because you
Mm-hmm.
know that on the other side of failure, success comes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's really one thing that I could say. So, but yeah, like I said, you're doing great. So
Thanks,
you're
you
doing
too.
great.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
um, I actually want to talk a little bit about your schooling because you did go to school, not specifically for marketing. but I would love to talk about how you were able to um, get that education, get that hands-on experience, and be where you are today without actually going to school specifically for marketing.
Um, well, I think my school experience was really unique. Um, I kind of was in the middle of, just getting it done. And, I was growing up in an African household that's a non-negotiable. Like,
Yeah.
school is something that you do or you're going to be sleeping on the streets. So, I just, obviously at the time, I actually took a year off of school, so
Mhm.
I kind of seen how it was not being in school. And I kind of just told myself, if you start something, just at least finish it. And that's when I made the promise to myself to kind of finish school. So it was a good experience. I think going into the social sciences, challenged my perspective. I started to think, and when I was doing all these papers and reading literature and things of that matter, I was kind of expanding my creativity and more of my curiosity at the time. Like, you know what I mean? And I took some really good classes in my last year. I actually took a pop culture class.
Nice.
I took like an American Revolution history class, and it was actually taught by like a white professor, but we were talking about like slavery and like the Great Migration and like Malcolm X and the Harlem Renaissance. So I actually loved it because of the material,
Mhm.
and it motivated me because I was like actually good at it, like because it was things that was worth talking about. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I remember writing like a 20-page paper about the influence of African Americans or Afro Americans in the Harlem Renaissance, and
Wow.
basically how like the Italians and Jewish people tried to like take Brooklyn and lower Manhattan over from the African Americans, and then they came in the mid 1920s and kind of like really shocked it up with their contribution socially and artistically and stuff of things like that. So it was dope. So I think after having that experience and not really being more say pertaining to the marketing field, I had a lot of like skills and hidden talents that were being tested. Like writing is something that I really feel like I worked at the craft of it. Because when I started my blogs in 2016, I felt like every year, every blog that I was doing was getting better by the way other people were perceiving it. And then I would read it sometimes myself, and I'm like, I couldn't believe how I was processing these like, narratives. And then I'm just like, oh, like this is really a skill, but it's like the hours that you continue to put into your craft, and that's the culmination of those results. So
Mhm.
I think that taking those social sciences classes allowed me to kind of understand different perspectives and literature and stuff like that. But the writing aspect is something that I feel like became a hidden talent that I had to kind of wake awaken.
Mhm. And exercise develop.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think that's a big win now for me and my business. And creating is something that, I think everybody has the ability to create, because everybody's imagination is different. I think
Mhm.
my imagination came from my life experiences, like I said, and, my childhood. I think, I've been able to have a blessed childhood growing up with good people in my life, and I've been able to, explore, and I think that that's what kind of gave me the opportunity now in business to have like a creative mindset because I had a great imagination growing up.
Mhm. That's awesome. So, what advice would you give somebody who is you a year ago, wanting to get into marketing, doesn't have a background in marketing? What advice would you lend to that person?
Um, you never know until you try. You never know until you try. I've been at different crossroads in my life where I said, hey, I wanna do a master's in biology, or it's like you kind of never know until you try. You know what I mean? You can throw
Mhm.
yourself in the fire, and two things can happen. You can fail and be great, or you can find out it's not for you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I always told myself if I was going to get into business, the worst thing is you get into business and you break even. You know, the best case scenario is you do incredible things and you sustain a level of profitability and financial wealth.
Mhm.
So I think either way, I was like winning, because I think if you fail, you have great knowledge that can get you past a lot of roadblocks in your life. If you're
Mhm.
successful now, you're in an opportunity to now employ people and sustain a level of profitability and have a life craft out for yourself that you've never envisioned. So that was kind of, for me, that was the kind of the eye opener. It's like, hey, worst case, this happens. Best case, this happens. And I think after I was able to materialize with that idea and that thought, it became a reality. So
For sure.
a message to everybody is just sometimes you just never know until you try, and don't be afraid of failure, because failure is a thing that will propel you forward to reach your success of any goal or acquired desired action for that matter. I always say it like, never in my wildest dreams would I thought that I would be here today to tell this story and to go to the environments that I've been in and to be in rooms where I used to dream of, and
Mhm.
that is just a living testament that everything is possible through hard work, dedication, and perseverance, and you know not giving up on yourself when you're failing. You got to really embrace your failures just as much as you embrace your successes. And that's where I'll end on that note.
Yeah, you've always been, well, like, I don't want to say you've always been. I feel like I've known you forever, but I've really literally known you for like a year. But as from what I know, you've always been a very positive person. You keep a very positive mindset, and I really admire that. Have you always been like that, or is this something that you've had to develop over
Yeah,
time?
I just no, I have never always been the positive person. I just feel like it was just when I just look at it like, if you're negative all the time, nothing great's ever gonna happen. And I feel like, you know, that was the easiest transition that I had to do with my mindset is like, okay, if you expect anything to change, you got to change your mindset. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be negative, and I think when I really tapped into the whole positivity thing, and at first it was just confusing and manipulating my mind and doing the mental training of having a positive outlook. But, I used to always tell myself, like, there's always a lesson and there's always a positive and a negative, you know? So when I used to have failures in my life, or, even in school, I remember one time I applied for, a course and I didn't get in, and I needed the course in order to take a prerequisite for a next course, and I needed to graduate, and I couldn't take the course until the next year. I'm like, you know what? Well, at least I have the summer now to, do something that I didn't envision of doing, which was traveling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like different things like that allow you to kind of say, hey, there's always a positive side to it. And I think that when I started getting around people that had that same mindset, it kind of just rubbed off on me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's the reason why I'm able to, keep a clear head and, just continue to push in life, is because just the mindset is something that you got to really master. And I know a lot of people don't really see the power of positive thinking, but I think it's just, building that habit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just believing in yourself inside, internally. You know what
For
I
sure.
mean? We all go through our personal, struggles and imperfections, and we're all not perfect. You know what I mean? A lot of people might see things that happen in my life and be like, oh, like this guy is like doing amazing, but I still wake up with my, imperfections every day. But I just try to, be positive about it and embrace it, and I just tell everybody, like, we don't have things figured out, but we just do our best with what we have and just try to
Mm-hmm.
progress gradually. So
Gems. Gems.
appreciate
Whenever
it.
I feel sad, I'm just gonna watch this part of
Yeah,
the
for sure.
workshop because that is, yeah, 100. Period.
Yeah, no.
You actually like diving into just positivity and keeping a positive mindset, this is gonna be like my last question before we do the fishbowl again for the
Yeah,
last like 5 minutes.
yeah,
But you spoke a little bit about like on your season 2, episode 1 that you just so recently put out. You spoke about how your mom's biggest fear was you ending up in jail, and your biggest fear for your child in the future is them coming home safe. And I'm sure like you feel that way about yourself, about your friends, about your family. So I understand how important it is to keep a positive mindset, but with everything going on, and you yourself being a Black man, how are you able, like, what are some things, some strategies, exercises that you use to really maintain your positive mindset? Because having one is, it like having, getting there is one thing.
yeah.
It's exhausting, it's tiresome, it's really hard, it's relentless, it takes a lot of discipline. But also getting there and staying there is a whole nother thing. So how are you able to do that?
I mean, I think, you know, my positivity side is just telling me that one day, change will happen. You know, it's just that I might not be here to tell the story of that change. You know, and the work that we put in, doesn't stop. You know, and I think that, you know, if you continually do the work, you might not live to see the results of your actions. You know, so I think that, you know, it's very important because the struggles that I go through those struggles so my kids won't have to. And that goes for racism, oppression, and all the things that fall under that category of discrimination against our own kind. So I think it's really important that, you know, we keep the focus on paying it forward and knowing, just being realistic with yourself, that the things that you're doing to enhance our community, our culture, you know, it might be, you know, done 20, 30 years from now, the results, the magnitudes of your actions. So, you know, I think when you're really clear about it on that, you know that the work just never stops, you know, and it's a 24, 25/8 thing that you just got to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do that's going to help? And I think the biggest thing we can do is educate, you know, help people understand why things are like this and how we can get, you know, bills passed. And you know, it's like a multi-layered system. You know, you look at prison reform, financial literacy, educational reform. You know, now you're looking at sports. You know, it's like racism is so deep, it's deeply rooted, but it's a, you know, systemic thing that comes from thousands of years ago. You know, so I think education and knowing your history is very important, because you give yourself a fighting chance at making a change with your counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you like keeping us informed, updated. I appreciate you keeping us educated. You're really utilizing your platform for not just only your business. So honestly, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
being seen. It's being appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It means a lot, you know, especially coming from my fellow Black community. And we just got to keep it going, you know?
I hear that. Amen to that. Okay, so we're gonna leave it on lighter notes. Gonna ask you some more questions. If there was a day in your honor, what would people do to celebrate? Like, what would you want people to do?
Mm, to be honest, I'm probably say it's watching my favorite films and just eating pizza, to be honest. Yeah.
What kind of pizza? That's the
I'm
important
a big pizza guy. Like my favorite pizza definitely has to be like just a cheese pizza or a margarita, but like a New York style cheese pizza where
part.
like the
Nice.
cheese falling off the pizza and like thin
Mhm.
crust. That's
Mhm.
definitely like the perfect celebration.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, and what would you like? Who would play you in a movie of your life?
Who would play me? Wow, that's a good question. Obviously, like, you know, my egotistical side would say Denzel, but that's definitely,
I knew you were gonna say that.
yeah,
You know,
that's far
but
from the
I see
reality though.
it.
Like that's just me and
I
my
see.
ego talking, you know. But damn, Morgan Freeman.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Morgan Freeman. But yeah, my egotistical side, Denzel for sure.
I love it. I love it.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm here for it. And then, what do you use your talents in your time? Well, we know this answer, but I'll ask for those who are new and don't know you, just to remind them. I use my talents and time to help others by blank.
I think informing, inspiring, helping. Well, I can't say helping, but yeah,
Oh,
like
you
inform.
definitely help. You
Yeah,
definitely
informing
help.
I think is one thing that I do. I just try to inform people and
Mm-hmm.
just try to uplift people. Where I come from, people don't do that. They rather put you down. So I'm trying to be the opposite. Just uplift. I think it's very important. If you see somebody progressing,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't share that with them because you don't know what that can do for them inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, right on time. We have 2 more minutes until this logs us off. So I
Oh,
want
okay,
to
okay.
thank you so much for being here, giving us your time, your energy. It's much appreciated. Everybody who logged on and let gave us. So my dog is barking. Gave us some great talking points. Shared your your opinions. I really appreciate it. Everybody who took the time to join this workshop, and I am really looking forward to the next one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You did an amazing job, honestly.
Thanks.
You're a pro at this. So I just want
I'm
to say,
trying.
I got to give you your flowers while they're still fresh.
I
Thank you
appreciate
so much for allowing me to impart my wisdom on those who tapped in, and everybody that would need gems or the time to really be informed of what's going on. And going forward, I hope we can do something in a space next time when things open
it.
up. And
Yeah.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and you don't know how much this means to me and the people that look up to me. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, you as
And
well. Get some
yes,
rest. Yeah, get
yes,
some rest.
definitely that.
Yeah,
Definitely that.
yeah,
All right.
absolutely. All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Take
Bye,
care.
Hussein.
Peace.
Bye.
Shout out to positive vibes. Positive vibes
Yes.
only.
Yes.